So, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Get Moving podcast. My question is, if you ever felt like you're just treating symptoms instead of finding solutions, today's guest is going to change your perspective on this question. I'm definitely sure about this. She is a registered natural health practitioner and a master in biohacking modalities, uh, who looks at health throughout a literal microscope lens. So starting from iridology to acutherapy, she's the founder of Vitality Wellness World and one of the few practitioners in the whole world that are bringing the gap between the deaf community throughout her fluently in ACL. So please welcome a woman who believes being fit isn't just a trend, so it's a lifestyle. The incredible Ariel Jarvis. Ariel, it's a great pleasure to have you here today on our podcast episode.
And it's my honor, Ivan. I'm very excited to dive into longevity.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. So let's start with the philosophy of longevity. So we always have the question, the normal versus the optimal trap. And most doctors say the blood work is perfectly fine if it falls within the standard, the ball curve. But in your view, what is the three most common markers that are normal but actually indicate that a longevity crisis here?
The first one would be your liver markers. Your liver is the filter for the entire body.
All right.
And a lot of times if someone gets a ultrasound on their liver and gallbladder and everything shows up fine, their blood work shows up fine, but they have visceral fat, it is not fine. The liver is the filter for the entire body. And in Chinese medicine, you have to do a liver stone flush at least 4 times a year, starting at the age of 10.
Okay.
And that is all done by removing the metabolic waste from the liver and the gallbladder. And yes, you can do this stone flush if you don't have a gallbladder, but staying on top of your liver because it has 500 functions. It's the filter. It helps you absorb, detoxify so that you can absorb your minerals, detoxify your metals, helps you navigate with the metabolic system and to help you with hormones, food sensitivities, allergies, all the things that can lead to poor quality of life because of its ability to create free radical damage and oxidative stress. That's number one, is the liver. Number two, a lot of times people will feel like they're okay. Their blood labs show that they're okay, but they have a lot of fatigue. Fatigue can be caused by free radicals, oxidative stress, compounding trauma. Trauma is not tested in blood work. They might test your cortisol, but they're not testing your nervous system. How regulated is your nervous system? And when I see 100 clients a week, one of the top things I talk about is the liver and the nervous system. The third is absorption. They're not actually looking to see if your body and your cells are optimizing based on the aquaporin and mitochondrial function.
All right.
Because they don't actually want to get to the root cause, because if they did, then their policies for data collection would be different. So things to look out for is inflammation markers may show that you're okay on your blood work, but your symptoms will tell you different. And your doctor may gaslight you because they either don't know or it doesn't fit within the criteria of their protocol, which is prescribing medication, not lifestyle changes. And here at Vitality, we talk about lifestyle and we get to the root cause because your symptoms are our body's way of interpreting what's going on, and the root cause will cause the symptoms to go away on its own, potentially, if you understand how to interpret it properly.
I understand. But you talk about the lifespan here. So what is the difference between the health span versus the lifespan? If you couldn't extend someone's life by 20 years, but they are remaining at their current physical state, or on the other side, you keep them at their peak physical performance, a state of being, but not extending their lifespan. So which is harder practically to do here or to solve?
So in Chinese medicine, we're about quality of life and we're about longevity. And a lot of
All right.
people, they already have this mindset that they're going to pass away when they're 60 or 70 or 80 because their parents did, or it runs in the family. That is not true. It's about how you take care of the free radicals, oxidative stress, creating the inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your health span is your quality of life. Your lifespan is how your body's ability and the cell function is to be able to offset the free radical damage and oxidative stress. You need to get your body really good at detoxifying the bad and absorbing the good, because then your cells will be able to regenerate and rejuvenate itself. And without knowing your lifestyle and without having proper data markers, how do you know where your health is at? How do you know the areas that you need to work on? Because a lot of times, sometimes people will show symptoms and sometimes people don't. I have some clients that won't show symptoms and then all of a sudden they just drop dead of a heart attack because there was stuff underlying. So that's where you have to make sure that you're on top of taking care of your health. You take your vehicle in for an oil change. Why don't you take your body in to check where your body vitals are? How are
Yeah.
your vitamins?
Yeah.
How are your minerals? How's your stress? Because without true data, you really don't know the markers that could be going on inside your body. And there are a lot of different variables that contribute to quality of life and longevity.
Ariel, I would like to ask you, what is here the biological baseline? So, for the normal people out there to understand a little bit more. So, one thing that the people are just like part of getting older, but that we believe we can actually, that is actually treatable, a dysfunction. So, what is one thing that we can do about here, about our health on a daily basis to treat ourselves a little bit better?
The one thing is making sure that you are supporting the mitochondria. You have 75 trillion cells. Your cells turn over
Yeah.
every 25 days. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and the root of every single sickness and disease is mitochondrial dysfunction dysregulation, which is what I work with all my clients. I look at the mitochondria. I make sure that the mitochondria is operating properly, which is supposed to be minus 22 millivoltage. And in the quantum healing effect, it should get to minus 50 when your body is trying to heal. So minus 22 millivoltage is a healthy cell. Minus 50 is a healing cell. Cancer turns on when the cells become positive millivoltage. So positive 30 is when cancer turns on. So the one thing that you can look into is electrolyzed reduced water. Water has changed after 1980 around the world. There's no more blue zones. All the blue zones are gone. So you need to drink water that has all the properties because your body is 80% water. I don't care what kind of nutrition, vitamins, minerals, what kind of biohacking you're doing. If you haven't looked at the first thing, which is water, and we drink water every single day, but we're drinking the wrong water. Water has to have a low ohm resistance to be absorbed into the mitochondria. It has to have a negative ORP to support the mitochondria. It has to have molecular hydrogen, a clustered structure. Otherwise, you can't absorb it. And Peter Agree in 2003 got a Nobel Prize for the discovery of the absorption of the aquaporin. And he discovered that the water you drink is fundamentally critical for any human to be able to have quality of life, because it's the one thing that will send a signal and receive a response, absorb or detoxify, and work on the terrain of the body so that the body doesn't become a breeding ground for bad pathogens, heavy metals, sickness, disease. At the end of the day, your body is 80% water, and water needs to be looked at. And you can actually get an ohm tester and an ORP reader on Amazon and identify what your water is doing and if it's even being absorbed properly by your body and efficiently.
Okay, that one I didn't know. So, what about the pH level of the water? Does it play any significant role here or does not?
So pH can be impacted two ways, biochemistry or biophysics. The
Okay.
pH means potential hydrogens.
Mm-hmm.
If water has a high pH, that means nothing if the ORP is positive charge. Positive charge ORP. ORP stands for oxidation reduction potential. If you have high pH water and it has a positive ORP, it is creating inflammation. It has buffers and chemicals to raise the pH, no different than you drinking tap water or pool water or water from your hot tub. It means nothing. You could add baking soda to your water to raise the pH. You can add chemicals and minerals and buffers. It doesn't mean the water's functional. It
Okay.
just means it has a high pH, but it does nothing. If you drink high pH water that has those other properties I mentioned with the negative RP, you're good to go.
Okay. And what is your opinion about the distilled water here in this case?
Distilled water is terrible.
It's terrible. Okay.
It's
So
terrible. Yeah.
search and
Reverse
avoid it.
osmosis and distilled water and reverse osmosis has no living ability.
Yep.
So you can actually look on YouTube and you can see the light bulb experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You take a light bulb and you put it in distilled water. The light bulb represents our mitochondria.
Okay.
The light bulb will not turn on because there's no energy in distilled water. It's dead water.
Mm-hmm.
So water holds a frequency just like our cells, and our electrons, protons, and neutrons all oscillate at a certain frequency.
Okay.
So if you are drinking distilled water, it's not giving life, it's neutral. It's not giving life, and it's not going to help your mitochondrial function. Reverse osmosis is actually positive charge, which is stealing electrons from the valence shell of the atom, creating free radical damage and oxidative stress. So it's actually worse. I tell my clients, don't touch distilled, don't touch reverse osmosis, sparkling water. There's 22,000 water competitors. When you follow what water is, it's medicinal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you do certain types of fasting with the right water, you see amazing autophagy benefits. But if you do the wrong water, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because you're creating free radicals. So what was the point of the fast?
Okay. So, for example, I'm drinking right now flat mineral water, but in a copper dish. Does it make any difference right now? I'm doing to my body.
Great question.
Okay.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
And this is stuff you can actually look up on pubmed.gov, and you can go into the Molecular Hydrogen Institute and you can
All right.
study and research all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So water holds a certain frequency. Let's say you take distilled water and then you add the copper cup. Copper on the periodic table is Cu positive.
Yeah.
And then you've got all of your minerals. All the minerals on the periodic table are positive. If I put a magnet against my wall, would the magnet stick? No, because there's no force to attract it. You have to have an attraction. If I had negative and positive magnets, what happens? They stick.
I stick.
Right? So that's
Yes.
why your water has to be negative in order for you to put all of your positive charge minerals into your water. If you had negative charged water and then you have the copper cup and then you add the minerals, your water now is biohacking your system. It is actually being absorbed and it's going to go into the aquaporin and it is going to reduce oxidative stress free radical damage because it has the ability to donate electrons and it has the ability for your body to absorb all 100 trace minerals and detoxify the metals that are creating disturbance within your cellular system.
So, can you hear me, Ariel?
Yes.
Sorry, I had a small delay here, but we can just continue from this point. I was always wondering, and what do you think maybe on this question? Many of the people are willing to invest in an external status like cars, clothes, but then in the internal real estate, as we call our well-being and their blood chemistry, they are not willing to do anything. So, how would you address this?
Yes. So at the end of the day, when I'm dealing with someone like that, I'm dealing with their spirit and their soul. A lot of people have a lot of limiting beliefs, low self-worth, and their identity is wrapped up in materialistic things. They don't realize that the external is not going to buy them love. They actually have a reason they're doing it. They want the fancy cars, the money, the houses, the women, all the things because they think that's going to make them worthy of love. Because they don't love themselves, because as a child, they probably had trauma that they haven't resolved. They just suppressed it. And trauma in the body dysregulates the nervous system and creates neurological pathways that becomes unhealthy and destructive to their body. At the end of the day, if you are not connected spiritually, how are you supposed to take care of the temple? This is a temple.
Yes.
And the temple is not just your flesh and your blood. It's your body, mind, and spirit. And that's where I tell people, if you have a body that you're trying to have longevity and quality of life, but your spirit is rotting and your spirit is dying, you put a spirit that's rotting inside a body, that body will die. And that's why I tell people you need to really look at what your motive is. There's nothing wrong with having nice things. I have lots of nice things. But the first thing, the priority is my spirit, my soul, my mind, my body, then the things. People have the priorities wrong, and that's why they're all dysregulated and they keep chasing things in life that is going to fill a void and it never does. And then their body breaks down. If your body breaks down, what's the point of having the cars and the houses and the trips and the beautiful women? What's the point if you are overweight, inflamed, your brain and cognitive function is poor, your skin is inflamed, you feel unwell and you have no confidence. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you are raw, naked, and by yourself, do you like what you see? Do you like the physical? Do you like the internal? Do you like how you treat people? Do you edify other people? How you treat people is very, very important based on how healthy you are inside. Do you forgive and let things go, or do you hold on? I always tell people there is fruit. Your body's like a tree. What type of fruit are you producing? Are you producing bitterness and jealousy and competitiveness? Those are all low frequencies.
Yeah.
If you are low frequency, law of attraction, you will attract low frequency. If you are high frequency, where you are operating in peace and harmony, you will attract high frequency. You will be blessed many, many kingdoms. But if you are operating in a lower frequency, you're actually going to have a harder life.
I love the analogy with the tree and with the fruit. Basically, you distill everything on this matter. So I'm just gonna continue with the next question. So when we discussed the nature versus the nurturing our body, you also mentioned in the last answer. So what do you think? What percentage of longevity is fixed by our genetics, and what percentage can we actually and truly hack throughout that precise intervention and actually that you're doing in your practice?
So based on what I've learned as a natural health practitioner, herbalist, nutritionist, acutherapist, and 6 years with clinical practice, seeing 100 clients a week, I would have to say that based on the research and the actually observing my clients, 5% is actually genetic. 95% is based on your habits, your routine, because you have to break the habits that your parents instilled in you.
Yeah.
You eat what mom and dad gave you. You're around that energy. So if mom and dad are always stressed about money, you're stressed about money. If mom and dad are always fighting, you're always in chaos. If mom and dad are loving each other, you see a healthy relationship, you're going to have a healthy relationship. As a child, your environment shapes your cognitive ability. You only know what you know. So if you have a healthy environment, you have a healthy mindset. If you have a traumatic environment, you can't change what happens to you, but you can change the patterns that you're going to continue and the cycle you're continuing. And there's a lot of people nowadays are waking up to this and they're becoming the cycle breakers of the trauma that's been happening in their ancestral line. Just because everybody got cancer doesn't mean you have to get cancer. Just because everybody is overweight doesn't mean you have to be overweight. Just because everybody had, they were poor or they had bad temper doesn't mean you do. It's a choice. 95% of our health internally and externally is a choice. Small habits that we do every single day based on our thoughts, our nutrition, our hydration, our exercise, and our nervous system and our spirituality and our discipline, our self-control and our confidence. All of these are little habits that compound within our cell memory. Your cells turn over every 25 days. After 2 years, you're a completely different person if you change. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's where you have to take accountability. People don't want to take accountability. They love using the genetics as escape because it prevents them from having to take accountability into their own life. And that's where I want to empower you to have accountability and to look at your life very clearly. Write out all the things that you want to change and do them all slowly. And over time, you'll notice that you'll become a completely different human.
So a compound effect on a daily basis, starting from today. But what would you maybe dissect from here and call them as a silent killer. So if you could only look at 3 blood markers, you also mentioned the free radicals and the oxidative stress here, but the blood markers for the rest of your career to predict a person's performance and lifespan. So which 3 will you choose and why?
I would have to say looking at their metabolic rate.
Mm-hmm.
Your metabolism will tell me a lot based on how healthy your lifestyle is. Your lifestyle will reflect your metabolism. A lot of people are overweight because they are energetically blocked and they are emotionally dysregulated. They need the tools. There are tools.
Yeah.
Their liver is blocked. So I would have to say that visceral fat, metabolic rate tells me a lot. And your blood markers for like your A1C tells me a lot with your body. And no one should be overweight, right? So it's like if you're overweight, there's something energetically wrong. You're not dealing with your emotions. And stress is the silent killer. And even when we see this in children, we'll see children that are overweight. They don't have, a metabolic function problem that they were born with. They have a traumatic environment. They are energetically dysfunctioned. And that's where we need to look at, observe the exterior and recognize that their nervous system is dysregulated. Treat the nervous system and the rest will follow, because the nervous system is what controls everything in the body, the metabolic rate, and the A1C.
All right. So does it actually mean for me, from the metabolical standpoint of view, that I should consider doing heavy lifting or maybe like interval or very hard, pushing very hard with the training sessions here? So where is your place here?
I think yeah. So I am an athlete. I deal a lot with athletes. I believe that there's not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is custom, right? And what you might do for a period of time is good for you in that period of time. You have to go with what aligns with you. And that's where we have to listen to our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And don't listen to what someone tells you. Listen to what your intuition tells you. Ask yourself. Stop asking others. Ask yourself, how do you feel today? There are some days where you might want to go to the gym and push heavy weight. You might want to, do some intermittent fasting. But I think getting ourselves stuck in a routine where if we don't do it, then we actually stress ourselves out more. That's actually unhealthy. We're not supposed to abuse our bodies.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to take it day by day, because every day is different, especially if you have a busy work life or a busy family, or you want to be present with your kids or your wife or whatever your work life balance is. I think that every single day, don't be so black and white. I think that really looking at what are your goals and what is serving you with your nervous system, and stop trying to push so hard to the point where you're actually abusing your nervous system. I love going to the gym. I compete. I do all the things, but there's a time and a place and there's a season. And when it becomes unhealthy is when you force yourself to do it, even when your body is asking you to stop. If your body asks you to stop, you need to stop and listen to your body, because a lot of people will think, oh, it's all about the mind. You have to override the body. But what happens is that can sometimes create too much inflammation and oxidative stress, where it's actually something good that can become something bad very quickly. And that's where we can kind of get that fine line where something good can become something bad if the motive behind what you do is very important.
Okay, so but how would you actually treat here the gradually overweight person? For example, you will see on your results, on your palette of the results, that the metabolic state is practically zero or even in a minus state. So how would you gradually increase the metabolic rate of this person? Is there any hack beside the physical activity to engage in such? If you have to deal with a gradually overweight person, is there any other possibility to increase the metabolic rate of this person besides the physical activity? Can you somehow
Yes.
manipulate this metabolic rate? What would you suggest here?
Absolutely. Number one is supporting the mitochondria, because what is the metabolic rate? It is an abundance of
All right.
cells that the mitochondria has to be healthy. So supporting the mitochondria, working on the liver, because the liver is the filter and the only organ that supports fat loss for visceral fat. So making sure that you are doing your liver gallbladder stone flushes, which is a Chinese medicine protocol, and then exploring hydration, regulating the nervous system, portion control, and eating enough protein. And if someone does have a dysfunction metabolic system, chances are they don't process carbs very well. So you want to get the body into a state of ketosis, or getting the body into a state of high protein, high fat, to nourish all the nerves and all the cells with their nutritional requirements, getting rid of all the carbs and the sugars and the processed foods, and all of the lectins, phytic acids, oxalates, all of that, because that is also impacting metabolic waste and liver function, which is going to internally impact the weight loss. I've helped a lot of clients lose weight without exercise, and support and increase their metabolic function without exercise. And last and not least is really looking at peptides. And a lot of people are exploring peptides. Peptides are amino acids that send a cell signal. So they're not a steroid, they're not a stimulant. Some are FDA approved, some are not yet. They've been around for a long period of time, and your body makes almost all the peptides. There's a laundry list of peptides. Do your research. But peptides are something now that have become a game changer for clients when it comes to restoring the metabolic rate. Retatrutide is one of my favorites. And looking at things like tesamorelin, CJC, ipamorelin, there's so many different types. Obviously, you have to consult with your medical physician. This is
Yeah.
not medical advice, but this is just a conversation and educational purposes only, where you can do your own
Okay, I'm
research.
definitely going to ask a couple more questions on peptides, but later on. First of all, I would like to ask you, what is your opinion on keto diet? Considering that I also do a small research on it, so I just wanted to see your point of view of
Yeah.
this.
So first of all, I love the concept of the keto diet. I love the concept of ketosis and autophagy and fasting and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, but it's not a blank statement. So you have to look at cancer, autoimmune. You have to look at the state of the person. You also have to look at the energetics and the mindset. If someone is addicted to sugar and you try to go a 180, you could put them into a blood sugar shock, right? You have to do things gradually and slowly. You don't just shock the body. And you have to make sure that
Yeah.
food is medicine. And if you change the food from 0 to 100 and you don't gradually do it, then the body can resist. And you can actually hurt yourselves if you don't know what you're doing. And so that's where, if someone, say, had diabetes, or they were on a ton of medications, or they were very overweight, a lot of people don't process sugars anyways, and they don't process carbs properly anyways, because they have a dysregulated nervous system and a very unhealthy ecosystem and a very unhealthy lifestyle. So the ones that are dialed in, that do a high protein, high fat diet, they actually start to go through a detox, and then they start to feel amazing. I've been on a high protein, high fat diet for quite a while. I used to be a vegan, and now I'm
Okay.
carnivore. And it's crazy. I literally feel better now,
Guilty.
and I look younger now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you make those changes, but it was so hard before. I didn't know if I could do it. I had to take it slow and listen to my body, but now I eat beef, eggs, water, exercise. I feel great. I dropped 40 pounds. So when it comes to your diet, you have to listen to your body. And I do love the fact that your brain is mostly fat, and your hormones and all of your tissues require essential fatty acids and amino acids. And when you give yourself not overdo it, right? You're not here to gorge yourself, but when you give yourself the macronutrients that your body
Yeah.
actually uses based on your lifestyle, you actually are giving your body exactly what it needs. And you're not giving your body excess that now your body doesn't know what to do with and it just stores it. So when you start getting rid of all the things that your body just wants to store or can't utilize because you're so stressed, your body actually starts to function better because it doesn't have to require as much energy. And protein has been proven and fats have been proven to be extremely beneficial for the brain and the body and the muscles and all the fascia and the ligaments, the tendons, everything.
Do you believe that we actually, when we give just a normal blood work to our doctor, that we look at the insulin sensitivity or just the blood sugar levels wrong? What is
Yeah, I
yeah,
would have to.
yeah. Please continue. So what
Yeah.
is the true metabolic health looks like on a cellular level according to the blood here?
So when it comes to your liver and your pancreas, they should be functioning properly and you shouldn't be having all these symptoms. If there are a lot of different symptoms that your body will share with you that states that you're not absorbing and digesting the food properly. And even if you think you're eating properly, it's also the function of the organs themselves with your pancreas and liver that don't really go noticed properly. And unfortunately, with conventional medicine, with your life labs nowadays, when people get their life labs, the range of what is healthy is there to dictate a medication or a
All right.
diagnosis. It's not there to indicate the purity of your health. It's just there to see if you fall within the spectrum for them to diagnose you with something or to give you a medication. You want to look at not survival of the body, but thriving and longevity. And that's why using life labs or using your blood work as just a stepping stone, but there's a lot of things that you want to look at. You want to look at parasites, metabolic waste. You want to look at the mitochondrial function. You want to look at all your minerals and metal levels. What's the state of all of your minerals and all of your metals? Metals in the body can become very dangerous to your nerves and your brain and your liver if there's too much. And minerals are conductors for the nervous system to help with the cell to cell response. So, very important. So, you really want to look at other things, not just what your doctor says, because remember, they are a business. Their job is to prescribe
Yeah.
a drug. That's all they do. They prescribe drugs. So if that's not in alignment with you, you need to make some lifestyle
Yeah.
changes.
And apropos drugs, what is your opinion about supplements and supplementing here? Are they for you overrated or underrated?
I think supplements are a little bit overrated. Most people are not absorbing them. So I used to take $1,000 worth of supplements
Okay.
a day. Now I take about 3 or 4, and I feel better now than I ever have doing less. I think doing less is better than doing more, but making sure that you're doing what's right for you. A lot of people will listen to a podcast or read a book. They hear about a supplement or a vitamin. They don't look at quality. So quality control is huge. Bioavailability, is your body even absorbing? Compatibility, is your body even compatible? And does your body even need it? Are you actually deficient or did you just take it because your friend told you to take
Yeah.
it? So I think it's very important that you have the data to identify if your body is actually needing it and then do the data before and after to see if your body continues to need it or if you can stop. There's no rule that says you have to take vitamins and supplements 7 days a week. I only take my supplements, when my body needs it. And so I get my nutrition from sunlight, red light therapy, water, exercise, movement, sleep. Sometimes my body just needs to flush and do a detox. Sometimes my body just needs to move or drink the right water. Like there are certain things, right? The right nutrition. So getting more in tune with your body is very important. I think a lot of people are not they're not intuition. They're not intuitive with their body. They have no idea. They're not connected to their body at all. And I think that's very important. If I eat something, I can physically feel it working within my body now because I'm so connected. Whereas before, when I was taking so many supplements, I was taking them because my textbooks were telling me to take them. I would read about all these different things and I'd be like, oh, I need that. But did I need that? Or was I just being impressionable? And when I actually did the testing, because I test my blood work and everything every 30 days, I check everything. I am the healthiest now that I've ever been. And I'm actually doing less, not more. And I think it's about working smarter, not harder.
Okay, because now at this point you know exactly what your body needs. And apropos to this, how often is like the benchmark, or how often would you prescribe or tell the people to do their blood work in a whole year period?
Everybody's different. Some people are dealing with some very severe problems and health issues. Some people have a very stressful job, which will impact and break down their body. So go based on how you feel. If you feel good and you feel great, then do your blood work once a year. If you're struggling and you wake up tired, if you're always tired, if your tummy hurts all the time, that's not good. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're chronically complaining about your body, then there's something wrong. Get the blood work, go see a naturopath or go to a Chinese medicine practitioner or a wellness practitioner. Go to someone and get multiple testings done from different perspectives because everybody will have a different perspective. Or you can reach out to Ivan and I. I do virtual appointments and I can help anyone around the world.
People, you heard this, what the Ariel just said. So please have that in mind. But Ariel, for example, is there, you just said the body will actually give us the answer here in a form of some inflammation markers. But is there a productive inflammation? Or is just like a chronic system inflammation that accelerate aging or just some kind of disease here?
There's two types of inflammation. There's inflammation that is caused by healing. So healing can cause, that's why you don't want to do too much too fast because you can go into a healing crisis.
All right.
So sometimes in Chinese medicine, it's called the Herxheimer reaction. It's when your body has to get worse before it gets better. So the Herxheimer is when your body is detoxing. So inflammation can actually go up. So we see this when someone has lost 20 pounds. So if you're losing weight, your inflammation actually might go up because those fat cells hold toxins and those toxins now are in your bloodstream. And it's going to take a certain amount of time until your body gets rid of those toxins. So number one is inflammation can happen, but it's not bad inflammation. It's just a change because your body is detoxing. Or if you are getting rid of parasites, fungus, mold, yeast, bacteria, when they leave the body, they are creating inflammation when they leave. That is actually good inflammation because they're leaving the body. Inflammation when you exercise, you go and do a bicep curl, you're creating a tissue inflammation. Yeah. That's not bad. Your body will repair. So there is different types of inflammation. The bad inflammation is when you eat things that your body can't use to heal. So for example, bad inflammation would be a lot of compounding chaos and trauma. So living in a very toxic environment, energetically abusive, right? The second would be like eating fast food or eating food that your body can't recognize as healing, right? So the type of food that you consume is very, very important. Your body uses food to heal. The other one would be taking a look at if you are not working on your heavy metals, your parasites, fungus, mold, yeast, bacteria, that inflammation can create an abundance of bad inflammation. So that's where you want to take a look. So you always want to look if something, and that's where the quantum world comes in. How to actually tangibly test this is the inflammation constructive or destructive based on the wavelength? So the wavelength is going up. That is a constructive wave. It resonates with your body, which means it creates a harmony. Something that's a destructive wave in physics is something that creates destruction because it's creating free radical damage. That's the difference between the two types of inflammation, is actually the signature of the wavelength.
All right. But how would you define hormonal balance here? For example, in the time when I was an active athlete, I brought on my body fat percentage under 10. So I think it was like 8.5 at that moment. But I had very good physique, proper physique at that time, but my hormonal level was off the line. So I know that I was having insomnia. So there was sleep disruptness here. I had also the waves, like you said here, with the energy. So I think everything comes also with the mood swing here. So at what point does optimizing these hormones cross the line from longevity or well-being into like a short-term performance at a long-term cost here?
You have to look at the motive behind why you wanted to get your body fat
Yeah.
percent down. You have to look at your nervous system. Was it because you were just curious, or was it because there was something energetically deeper? People need to look at their motives. Their drive might come from something that is very destructive. Usually people are driven because of
Okay.
trauma. It doesn't mean that they've healed it. It means that they've learned how to master it and turn it into something that is going to be an action, but it doesn't mean it's healing. There's nothing wrong with having low body fat. It depends on how you get there. You can get there through operating through a regulated nervous system and having peace, or you can operate through running from your trauma and using that almost as like a way to change the physical body, but it won't change the internal body, if you know what I mean. And that's where I tell people the motive. So there's nothing wrong with being lean and healthy, but if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you actually will have an inflammatory response. And that's where having that inner peace is the most important, making sure you have that inner peace. The other thing is certain things that we do to our body when we are, so for example, when you're having a rapid weight loss, you actually have to do a liver stone flush because what's happened is you got your body fat percent down. Where did those toxins go? Toxins are stored in fat cells. Toxins make us tired. They make us moody. They are endocrine disruptors, so they throw off all our hormones. Where did those toxins go after the fat loss? They went in the liver. How do you get them out of the liver? You didn't. You just left them. So no wonder you felt awful. So what would have been better at 8.5% body fat is if you focused on regulating your nervous system while you were there. So once you got there, you stayed and you focused on your inner peace, regulating your nervous system, and then also working on your hydration and putting back all your minerals and detoxifying the metals. That'll help with the hormones. That'll help with the fatigue. That'll help with all of the cellular functions and requirements for a healthy mitochondria. And then doing a couple liver stone flushes, you would perk up like a flower. You would feel so much better. So it's not about having low body fat. I have the lowest body fat right now that I've had my entire life. And I have more energy than I've ever had because the way I did it by regulating my nervous system. I focused on my inner peace. Your exterior is a reflection of where your nervous system's at.
Right.
When I look at someone, I can tell by looking at someone based on where their nervous system is at because we wear the stress of life on our face, in our body, our fascia. Your fascia and your water retention will show me how much stress you've been suppressing.
All right. But what in a case, for example, you have to deal with a high performance athlete? In my case, I was actually in that point where I couldn't control it, the outcome, because we had a rigorous regimen of training. We had like 2 or 3 sessions per day. So if we address these questions, how would you actually apply this to some people who are physically active on a daily basis? Maybe for them to control the outcome.
So yes, and that's where if I'm dealing with a high performance athlete like that, we would explore peptides because right now they're not in a place of healing. You can't heal in a chaotic environment. That type of performance athlete, they don't care about healing. They want to manage so that they can keep going. So they're in a survival state. They're not in an optimized state. So that survival state, all you can do is manage and you manage their body by water, nutrition, regulating their nervous system, sleep, and working on the fascia and the exercise and all that. So I call it the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are very, very important when you're at that high performance position of just really working on the mindset, the things that you can control, right? Because it is a chaotic environment. It's not normal to work out 3-4 times a day. But if you're a high performance athlete and this is your career, then you've made the decision that this is how you're going to have to live. So you have to manage. So that's where you manage your water, your sleep, your nutrition, your stress management, your exercise, your mindset, and then exploring peptides are a game changer. Peptides and exosomes and stem cells are something that sometimes high performance athletes will introduce because it allows their body to recover faster and get stronger.
Interesting. Do you believe that actually there is a connection between the gut microbiome and our blood?
Absolutely.
And
yes, there's a connection.
Yeah, that was actually my question. So how often do you find that blood issues is actually a gut issue as well that you diagnose?
Great question. I love this question. So your gut microbiome is an ecosystem of 100 trillion bacteria. It is a terrain of bacteria, parasites, fungus, mold, mycotoxins. The lining of your intestinal tract, your colon is 22 feet long. It is a muscle, not an organ. And everything that you absorb goes through the small intestinal wall. You want to make sure that your lifestyle is good because what you eat and what you drink and all the vitamins you're taking will get absorbed through the small intestinal wall and gets into the bloodstream. Now, the problem is if you don't take vitamins or supplements at all and you're extremely deficient, you have a very processed, poor diet, you have lots of stress, you have an acidic, pH low environment, and you're feeding the bad pathogens, you will have dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is when you have too much bad pathogen and not enough good pathogen, and that will impact the microbiome. It will impact all of the endothelial cells that line the intestinal wall and lead to leaky gut and a dysregulated nervous system. You have more neurons in your gut than in your brain. Your gut is your second brain. That's why they say go with your intuition. And if you don't take care of the ecosystem of the microbiome, then the bad particles that's happening in the ecosystem will merge through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream and make your blood toxic. If your blood becomes toxic, then that is circulating through your entire body